What makes Einstein's quiet reflections on the soul so compelling is not that they were framed in the language of religion, but that they arose from the cracks in science. Those moments where even the most brilliant theories could not explain the mystery of being. While the world celebrated him for unlocking the secrets of space and time, few realized that he also spent countless hours thinking about something far less measurable: human consciousness. The subjective experience of being alive, the sense of I am, was for him not merely a byproduct of biology, but a phenomenon deserving of reverence and inquiry. He never claimed to understand it fully, but he respected it deeply. He observed that people often lived in a way that suggested they were more than flesh and bone. They spoke of love, morality, courage, and purpose, concepts that could not be traced back to atoms or molecules. He wondered how such abstract ideas could be so central to human life if we were nothing more than material beings. If humans were merely mechanical systems, then what explained our yearning for justice? Why did we care about beauty? Why did we feel guilt or awe? And most curiously, why did people from vastly different cultures, separated by language, time, and belief, still arrive at similar notions of the soul, the afterlife, or the invisible self? Einstein didn't claim to know the answers, but he was fascinated by the universality of these questions. He saw a pattern in the human need for meaning, a kind of cosmic fingerprint that echoed through philosophy, poetry, and even theoretical physics. And in that pattern, he sensed that perhaps the soul was not just a human invention, but a reflection of something real, though still unmeasurable, something buried deep in the fabric of existence. He approached these questions the same way he approached physics, with respect, humility, and the refusal to accept lazy answers. He never reduced the soul to neurons, nor did he inflate it with mystical fantasies. He simply acknowledged its presence in human life, in our art, in our grief, in our ability to hope against impossible odds. And it troubled him that modern science had no tools to study this. That the most important aspects of life, love, memory, intuition, inner peace, could not be put under a microscope. This, he thought, was a tragedy of modern thinking. To only believe in what could be measured, while ignoring the vast inner world that gave life its meaning. Einstein didn't think the soul was immortal in a religious sense, but he suspected that the self, the essence of who we are, did not simply vanish at death. He often pondered whether consciousness might be part of a deeper field of reality, something not yet understood. In the same way that radio waves exist all around us, yet are invisible unless we have the right receiver, he wondered whether the soul could be part of a larger, undiscovered field, a continuum of awareness, perhaps even a dimension beyond time. He also speculated about memory and identity. He found it peculiar that we could relive vivid moments from childhood decades later, that our brains, made of ever-changing cells, could somehow preserve memories so intimately, so emotionally. This continuity of experience baffled him. How could impermanent matter carry the weight of a permanent self? To him, this was a clue, not proof, but a clue that there was something deeper going on, something that the current science of the time was ill-equipped to handle. Many people assume Einstein was strictly materialist because of his role in advancing physics. But he often warned against reducing the universe to mere mechanics. He believed that the mystery of existence required more than mathematical formulas. That while formulas could describe the motion of planets, they could not describe the feeling of falling in love, or the pain of losing someone, or the sudden joy that comes from hearing music that moves the soul. He considered these moments as evidence of another layer of reality, one that science had not yet begun to explore. In private, he sometimes spoke of death with a kind of poetic calm, not because he knew what came next, but because he was certain that nothing truly disappeared. In his physics, energy was never destroyed, only transformed. He wondered if the same might be true of consciousness, that maybe the soul, whatever it truly was, didn't cease, but rather changed form, not into a ghost or spirit floating in the clouds, but into something more elegant, more subtle, more eternal. He once spoke to a close friend about the experience of intuition, those flashes of insight that seemed to come from nowhere. He described it as something beyond logic, beyond the mind, as if knowledge was already there, and the mind was simply remembering something it had always known. He thought this hinted at a deeper structure to consciousness, that perhaps our souls were connected to something vast and timeless, a field of knowing that existed outside of space and time, and that occasionally seeped into our thoughts, our dreams, our moments of clarity. He also explored the notion of interconnection, the idea that no person is truly separate. In his physics, he found that particles could be entangled, connected across vast distances, acting in harmony without any signal passing between them. He found it beautiful, and he suspected that humans might be the same, that at some level we were all entangled, our consciousnesses linked, our experiences intertwined in ways we couldn't perceive. This, he thought, might be the scientific echo of what spiritual traditions had been saying for millennia, that we are all one. It is perhaps no coincidence that Einstein was often surrounded by artists, musicians, and poets. He believed that art tapped into the same truths as science, just through a different language. Music, in particular, was sacred to him. He once said that if he weren't a physicist, he would have been a musician. Music, he felt, was a glimpse into the soul, an invisible structure that moved people, shaped their emotions, and communicated something beyond logic. He found in music a kind of universal order, a pattern that echoed the harmony of the cosmos. And in that harmony, he found hope. Not a naive hope, but a profound one. Hope that we are more than biology. Hope that the universe is not random, but purposeful. Hope that the soul, however mysterious, is real, not because we want it to be, but because all evidence of our humanity points to something greater than matter. Einstein's view of the soul was neither religious nor atheistic. It was something else entirely. A scientific awe, a reverence for the unseen. A willingness to say, we don't know, but it matters. He may not have written equations to prove the soul exists, but he lived as though it did. With compassion, with curiosity, with wonder. He listened to silence as though it spoke. He looked at the stars and saw not just physics, but presence. A presence that watches, remembers, and perhaps continues, long after the body fades. Today, in a world obsessed with certainty, where everything must be labeled, categorized, and explained, Einstein's quiet respect for mystery feels radical. He didn't offer answers about the soul. He didn't pretend to know. But he reminded us that the most important truths may not be found in textbooks, but in the questions we carry in our hearts. And perhaps the greatest proof of the soul is not scientific at all, but found in how we live, in how we care for one another, in how we grieve and love and seek meaning, in how we stare at the stars and feel, without understanding why, that we are somehow connected to them. Maybe Einstein was right, not in what he said, but in what he felt, that we are more than machines, that our essence cannot be measured, that something within us endures, reaches, remembers, not just for answers, but for eternity.